Gas in Colorado is approaching $4 a gallon. We've already passed the point where people say they'll change their habits. More than a decade after he was drafted by the Rockies, Russell Wilson's traded to the Broncos. He's going to keep trying this football thing. Let's talk about quarterbacks with ability and integrity. One of the largest cities in Colorado has a pretty sad number of citizens signed up for emergency alerts, so they're going to try a new approach. And for everyone who's ever complained about a weather forecast, now it's your turn to be the meteorologist. All you need are eyes and the internet. Let's go. That's next. We could be paying $4 a gallon for gas by the end of the week. The people who study how gas prices change our everyday habits say we already passed the point where people are beginning to make changes, including considering other ways to get around. Here's Steve Steger.
Gas prices in Colorado are at about $3.85. Likely by Wednesday morning they will be north of $3.90. Probably by the end of the week, $4.
Bad news, guys. That ain't going away for a while.
I don't think we're going to see any decline in gas prices until Labor Day.
Skylar McKinley is the spokesman for AAA in Colorado. He says while that $4 a gallon number gets people talking, it's a much lower number that gets Colorado drivers to actually do something.
We survey drivers periodically in Colorado and across the country, asking them at what price point do you change your behavior? And for most Coloradans, it's not until you're in that 375 zone where around 64% of Coloradans say, I'm starting to notice this impact on my pocketbook. I need to do something different.
At 375, they start making other choices, cutting down on road trips, combining errands, and maybe, just maybe, trying a different way to get around.
Some Americans might say, you know what? Now's a great time for me to try out the bus.
An odd suggestion from the spokesman for the American Automobile Association, but statistically, drivers have moved to transit in the past when gas prices went sky high. In the summer of 2008, RTD logged more boardings as gas reached $4 a gallon. Then those numbers dropped off when prices plummeted. But RTD set records that year. The agency cautions it's hard to correlate ridership with gas prices, which have remained steady at times when gas prices fall.
There's a lot more walkable neighborhoods in Denver now. There's also better bike infrastructure.
McKinley says this could prove an interesting experiment.
I actually think this is a very interesting time in the history of Colorado to have these high prices because we've urbanized a lot since 2008. And so there are now transportation options around that weren't there in 2008.
RTD says a lot of factors influence ridership changes. Could be the weather, could be a new line or route opening somewhere, not necessarily only gas prices. But ridership is down dramatically since the start of the pandemic, so this could prove, Kyle, to potentially restore a few of the riders that they lost during the pandemic if people decide to get out of their cars and sample RTD for a little bit. The question is the system working well enough that it'll make people say, this is a good alternative. I might try this more often, even when gas prices go down.
Will they like what they sample? Yeah, because I mean, we're seeing the gas prices rise across the country. Not every city has the transit that we do. Some cities have much more effective transit than we do.
And studies on this nationwide have actually found that as gas prices have gone up across the country pretty regularly, we had that low point in 2008 at the end of the year. Gas prices have gone up pretty regularly, and transit ridership has trended down. So the question is there anything that's going to drive people into buses and trains rather than behind the wheel of their car?
Well, we shall see.
Yeah.
We actually shall see. All right. Thank you, Steve. So the Broncos today pulled off one of the biggest trades in football history. By now, you've heard all about it, how they're bringing Russell Wilson to Denver, the kind of transplant that everybody welcomes to town. Russell Wilson, the Seattle quarterback who ripped out the collective heart of Broncos fans and very politely stomped it into the turf at MetLife Stadium in the Super Bowl in 2014's come to Denver. Seahawks traded away their superstar quarterback because he wanted to leave town. He could have stayed if he wanted to. We're getting a fourth-round draft pick. Denver in return sends quarterback Drew Lock, tight end Noah Fant, defensive lineman Shelby Harris, and 4 draft picks. Russell Wilson ends the Broncos' post-Peyton QB drought and makes the Broncos instant contenders for years to come. In Russell Wilson, the Broncos have landed a quarterback with great ability and great integrity. Fans often end up compromising on one or the other. Wilson's the kind of player, the kind of man I think everybody can cheer for. Hard-working, he's always connected to the community. He's honest with his teammates and the public. His team's Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year award nominee last year for his work. A man that you won't have to explain your fandom for with, well, yeah, I know he said that or he did that, but he's such a great player. He's a lot like Peyton Manning, honestly. A quarterback with incredible ability and great integrity. I guess what I'm saying is we didn't have to settle. Tonight's next question comes to us from Terry in Centennial. Terry reached out about Xcel Energy's plan to implement a time of use rate for customers during peak hours. Basically, we'll all pay higher rates when energy use is at its highest, between 3 and 7 p.m. on weekdays. Terry wanted to know if businesses are going to get hit with this and if it'll apply to electric vehicle charging stations. So Terry, Xcel Energy says time of use rate is only a residential thing. They're trying to change our behavior at home. EV charging stations fall under the business category. They're not going to be impacted by this. Xcel's rolling out the time of use plan to the first round of customers this month. If you're an electric vehicle owner and you start seeing charging stations upping their prices during weekday evenings, please let us know. Keep the questions coming. If you're wondering about something, somebody else in the state is too. If you can, record it, voice or video, and send it to next@9news.com, and we'll go look for an answer. It's been a little while since we reminded you to sign up for your county's opt-in reverse notification systems. We talked about it a lot after the Marshall fire. The city of Aurora has seen a spike in opt-in registration last month, an increase of 45%. That'd be tremendous if it wasn't just still a fraction of the population. Marshall Zellinger has the story.
Ever since the Marshall fire, we've pushed you to sign up for reverse notifications. In Aurora, a population of 386,000, 17,000 are now signed up to receive the code red reverse notification. At the end of January, it was 11,000.
We are encouraged by a 45% increase in a month, just a little over a month, but we also recognize we have more work to do.
Aurora 911 Director Tina Bonetta has mixed feelings because even though so many more have signed up for opt-in alerts, it's just 4.5% of Aurora's population. This month, the city is expected to finalize the process to begin using the iPause cell phone text alert notification, the one like an Amber Alert. But even when Aurora is ready to use it, it will be under certain conditions, meaning still sign up for the opt-in code red alert.
We could not deploy iPause for localized events because the federal government has restrictions in place and thresholds for what meets the criteria so that it's not overutilized.
If Aurora had a Marshall Fire type evacuation scenario, it would ask one of its counties, Adams, Arapahoe, or Douglas, to help send out the iPause alerts. Even when Aurora is fully ready to use the iPause system, it will still rely on the opt-in alerts for local concerns.
So maybe a shelter in place for police activity at a location at a residence, or maybe we have some type of a fire, a structure fire, and you can't enter the area.
So if it's only limited to a certain area, you still need to sign in for the opt-in alert specific to Aurora. They've made it simple. You can text the word Aurora to 99411, AURORA. Text Aurora to 99411. Yeah. And that's every county is different. But again, it's been a while. Sign up for your opt-in alert.
Good to know for anybody who, say, might be moving into town to quarterback the Broncos, you know?
Right.
If they happen to grab a place in Aurora, like at Windsor Gardens or something like that.
Unlikely they won't have a landline.
Yeah.
And those cell phones need to be opted in.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Marshall.
Sunshine of 40 today, but cold and snow return tomorrow. Denver goes under a winter weather advisory at 11 a.m. after day, well, with highs still below average, upper 30s and low 40s, but we'll see that number cut in half tomorrow. Arctic front arrives in the morning. The moisture is feeding in from the west. Winter weather advisory goes from 11 a.m. through 5 a.m. Thursday for 3 to 6 inches of snow for Denver, 10 to 20 in the northern and central mountains where that snow will pick up tonight. We have mostly cloudy skies in Denver with patchy fog east. Snow begins by lunchtime. Tomorrow night, the drive's going to be tough. Thursday morning, it'll be tough, but the snow comes to an end in the afternoon after 3 to 6 inches of snow has fallen in 24 hours time. We warm up on Friday. We're back to sunshine and 60s for Saturday and Sunday. Might see 70 by Tuesday of next week.
Hey, it's Steve Stager. Guess this is my show now? It's National Aerospace Day, which seems like the perfect time to ask, is Colorado losing U.S. Space Command? Rain can turn to snow in a moment's notice in Colorado, even if temperatures are above freezing. So what's the best way to improve the accuracy of those forecasts? More satellites? More weather stations?
Sometimes real old-fashioned humans are the best way to answer a question.
Nope, it's us. Next.
What, I didn't have a jacket. Spring is bringing new beginnings for Denver City and County employees. Employees who have been working remotely for the last 2 years will be starting a new hybrid work model next month. They'll start working in person at least 2 days a week starting April 4th. The city's looking at adding a third day of in-person work by the end of the summer. City leaders point to decreasing COVID-19 infection rates as the reason for that change. Statewide COVID-19 trends continue to head in the right direction. About 3.2% of COVID-19 tests done in the state over the last 7 days came back positive. That's our lowest average since mid-July. Our ICU bed capacity continues to open up. 85% of ICU beds across the state currently have a patient in them. The lowest that number has been since August. Democratic Governor Jared Polis marked National Aerospace Day today by once again calling for U.S. Space Command to remain right here in Colorado. The base's commander, meanwhile, says that he just needs someone to make a decision soon rather than later. The U.S. Space Command base is currently headquartered at Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs. The Pentagon announced in an early 2021, a week before President Donald Trump left office, that it was planning to move Space Command to Huntsville, Alabama after 2026. Colorado lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have pushed back on that plan, saying that it could endanger national security and calling the move politically motivated by President Trump. The president fueled that speculation when he went on an Alabama radio show to say that he single-handedly made the decision to move the headquarters. In September of 2021, Colorado lawmakers sent a letter to new Air Force Secretary General Frank Kendall, urging him to keep the base in the Springs. The Department of Defense Inspector General and Congressional Government Accountability Office are both reviewing the potential move. General James Dickinson, current commander of U.S. Space Command, told Congress last week he needs a decision on that move soon. When debriefing a House subcommittee on strategic forces about national security in space and missile defense, General Dickinson says he needs a decision on the permanent headquarters before Space Command can be fully operational.
Scientists can't be everywhere at one time. That's why they use tools like satellites and weather stations and environmental monitoring.
Scientists are employing their most important tool, human observation, to make snow forecasts in Colorado more accurate. Because if there's anything we've learned over the last 20+ months with your Word of Thanks campaigns, crowdsourcing can accomplish a lot of good. Next.
I'm back. Didn't pass the physical. Trades off. So here on the Front Range, sometimes, it'll snow even when the temperature is above freezing. It's kind of a Colorado thing. Meteorologists say that rain-snow transition for our state's one of the more challenging things that they have to forecast. Actually, they could use your help on it. Here's Corey Reppenhagen.
Snowflakes can fall through warmer air and make it all the way to the ground without melting as long as that warmer air below the cloud is very dry. And Colorado is famous for its dry air. That means we can get snowfall when the air temperature is as warm as 39 degrees. But other times the snow still melts into rain despite the dry air, making the rain-snow transition one of the tougher things to forecast. One of the problems is that computer models lack the sophistication to deal with all the variables, like how air coming over the mountain ranges can change the pressure and humidity.
And so our project is working out a series of those probability curves so the models can be a little more nuanced.
Megan Collins with the Desert Research Institute is leading a new project called Mountain Rain or Snow. She wants to help improve the forecast.
Mountain rain or snow starts with a simple question. What is falling from the sky right now?
She says that very simple question fills a big gap in hydrologic research, and she'd like the answer to that question to come from citizen scientists across the state of Colorado. Log in to the website rainorsnow.app and let scientists know what time the rain in your area turns to a mix, and then again when it turns to snow. She says that citizen scientists can provide more data than weather stations and satellites. The information gathered in the project will be used to help computer forecast models learn. They essentially need to know when they are right and when they are wrong.
It's very powerful that people can get involved and evolve the science much further than scientists could do by themselves.
Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen for Next.
It's not just getting the forecast right to help people plan their daily lives. Colin says that rain-snow transition forecast also helps hydrologists make our water plan. Because of climate change, rain on snow events could become more frequent, and that would deplete our snowpack earlier in the season. So it's a sign of a scapegoat. That and your feedback next.
Russell. Can I call you Russell? Mr. Wilson, welcome to Denver. You're going to have to get used to some things you may not have experienced in Seattle. For instance, you're going to start to see a lot of green plus signs on the sides of buildings. Those are what? Oh, pot's legal in Washington. I knew that. Coffee. With a new playbook you gotta learn, you're gonna need coffee to stay awake. Now, there are a lot of places to get it, but this place you'll find just about anywhere. It's called, it started in Seattle? Got it. Seafood. You gotta love seafood. We've got our share of that son of a... Well, I guess we're just not that different after all. Breathe deep and... Altitude! Take that, Seattle!
It's a sign that Wile E. Coyote was here, and once again that Acme rocket didn't work properly. Carol was at Winchell's Donuts in Greeley a few days ago when she spotted this sign that made her laugh. Car with a big dent on the side, and somebody decided to put a Wile E. Coyote logo on it instead of fixing it. It's probably a lot more cost effective to do it like this, and you can make your neighbors laugh. See, look at that. Instant joy. If you see a sign that makes you look twice, email next@9news.com. or get our attention on Twitter with the hashtag HeyNext. All the feedback today is about Russell Wilson to the Broncos, but why not, right? Ralph says, more excitement over the Broncos in one day than in the last 2 years, maybe more. Yeah, I'd say so. Wasn't that nice for a change? I don't know. Chuck writes in to say that he's watching from Tacoma, Washington. You'd be a great addition to the King 5 team up there. That's our sister station in Seattle. He says, I look forward to the next Seattle version. Again, failed the physical, did very poorly on the treadmill. They sent me back immediately. Joanne writes in to say that you're the first that I have heard today bring up Russell Wilson's exceptional character. Thank you. Although it appears that Joe did not appreciate it. Joe said, little shady over there, Kyle. What would a particular Mr. Rogers have to say about that? Which Mr. Rogers are we talking about? The cardigan sweater guy or the horse paste guy? Not sure. We'll see you next time.